When a toddler learns to walk, do we call this space management skills? Quitting is a highly underrated skill. You shouldn't strive for time management. You should strive for time understanding instead. 30 seconds can be life-changing. We need, of course, more investors who feel when to say no. I was playing basically all the time. I was playing so much I didn't have time to train. And the work and money beat them. They are priceless for a reason. We don't know what we're working for. Is it money? Is it something else like satisfaction? Most people never try, which only improves your chances in a capitalist world based on competition. Time always allows you to aim high. If I tell you make $1,000 over the next hour, it's borderline impossible. But if I ask you to learn something in this hour that will likely bring you $1,000 over the rest of your life, you have thousands of good options that will lead to this. For example, hi, this is Kellen, 8-figure startup founder. Everyone around me, everyone in my 120 people company thinks that I'm very effective. That's not exactly the case. But how can you get a lot of things done without being effective? The reason is that I have a very good feeling about time. Is time management a skill? How often do you have thoughts about time? Like, if only I had more time in the day, or once this shit is over, I'll have more time to what I really want to do, or I'm not exercising because I don't have the time. How often do you have those? Some people seem to get more done in a day than others in a week. How can that even be? People who never have enough time are fed the delusion that the solution is time management skills. But what the hell is time management skills and why the fancy name? When a toddler learns to walk, do we call this space management skills? To manage time is to try to manage a huge river you're swimming in. Not only doesn't work, it's conceptually impossible. What people actually mean comes down to better priorities, increasing productivity, and getting rid of addictive time-wasting habits like scrolling on your phone. So what? The word is wrong, but the concept is right? Well, it's not only that. What you do in time is everything you do. Everything you do happens in time. Time management is just a sneaky way to say life management. Life management is putting pressure on yourself and the things you do. It's hard, unnatural, exhausting. It's impossible to fully achieve. In the end, it creates expectations and decreases happiness. If you live with the right mindset, the hunter one, and have flows in you and not too much boxes, you don't need life management or time management. Things just happen. They happen mostly great when you just give up control, when you stop managing your life. But even if you needed life management, and I cannot stress this enough, you don't, having a term for something that generic would be a useless trap word that would just be in the way, that would just destroy our intuition. Better to segment this into its understandable and actionable parts and unite it under the time management umbrella. And if we try, we end up with this spectacular 3D fail. So something we don't need is pursued, but also structurally in the wrong way without being segmented. And to get to all of this fun, we call it by the wrong name. What could go wrong? Of course, the first thing that does go wrong is the management part. Never expect a direct effort to control to have high success rate. People will resist. Even if they don't know why, they still will. Because deep down, we all feel the importance of adaptability for survival and prefer to keep our options open. Here are the separate fails. First, better priorities. We talk about choices and long-term freedom as a priority in our freedom content, but ironically, people have bad priorities partially because they don't understand time, and they also don't understand time because they have bad priorities. Developing time understanding is not a priority for most people. And when I see how much time most people spend having fake fun on screens compared to innovating and creating the golden age of innovation, traveling our beautiful world, or just meeting people and having fun, I don't think we are having much progress on priorities, despite the app stores have hundreds of time management apps. Second, increasing productivity. We'll talk more about this in our productivity video, but for now, let's remember that a productive state of flow can only happen while you're in hunter mode. And for this to happen, you need to minimize self-pressure, so you don't have fears. This means the least possible to-do list, reminders, apps, phone in general, distractions in general. Time management apps will not help you reach flow. They are more of a pick yourself up when you're totally down. Last resort structural solution. Management in general does not increase productivity. The opposite, autonomy does, including from yourself, so you have space for creativity. Third, getting rid of addictive time-wasting habits. These habits, like looking at your phone every 2 minutes, typical thing in the modern age, are coping mechanisms for the lack of meaning and other flaws that you assign to what you're doing. No band-aid solutions for time management will cope with a problem as serious as lack of flaws or meaning. You have to eventually make big game of life and possibly game of self changes in order to find the meaning and other flaws again. So time management is actually life management. It doesn't work as advertised because it increases pressure and expectations when you need the opposite. Does this mean you just leave time aside and don't develop any time-related skills? Actually, this is what most people are doing. If you're not a grinder, if you don't like living by the minute, by the clock, you just live normally. Most people live their lives and just let time pass by while they are passive observer to time. A typical thought of theirs goes like this: if we cannot find enough time during the day, if we cannot influence it, if we can barely manage ourselves and our actions within time constraints, what are our chances against the behemoth of time built into the universe itself? This thought reveals the single word that can ruin everything for you, which is against. You're not in a race against time, just like you're not in a race against the river you're swimming in. In fact, the river is giving you most of the speed. Because, believe it or not, regardless of age, unless you're very ill, time is and will always be your ally, not your enemy, your ally. But it's your responsibility to understand time, so the alliance between you two can materialize. But how? Let's start with our golden rule. Time understanding is not time management. If you were somehow a factory, you would need time management, but you're not. In fact, you and an imaginary factory have the opposite objectives. The factory wants to be predictable. It has assembly lines and supply chains, and everything needs to happen according to a pattern and needs to be predictable. But you are in a constant fight with inertia to improve yourself, and the only way to sometimes win against inertia is to be unpredictable, including to yourself. It's very important. This lack of control may sound very scary, but in practice you have no idea if being predictable or unpredictable is more of a threat to your well-being. So this fear is not rational and you should face and challenge it. The factory has limited potential and it maximizes it through goals, quotas and other structures. But you have unlimited potential and goals just get in the way of accomplishing it. You can achieve the impossible, not the objectively impossible of course, but the impossible from your viewpoint. You can achieve more than you think you can. The factory needs planning and management, but you don't. And if you don't need specific goals, why plan and create harmful limitations and expectations for yourself? You just need a direction, and following a direction does not need planning. Taking it one step at a time is usually the best option. This is the hunter mode behavior, not overthinking it. What is time understanding then? It's a purely intuitive skill that is not taught anywhere and most people lack. It's about feeling the flow of time and adjusting the timestamps of your life and work to it. The core concept is actually not easy to explain logically. I'll do my best using examples. Let's compare time to the other core quantitative concept of life, which is money. If you want financial freedom, you have to learn to feel the quantities of money, the money flows, both large and small. And this intuitive understanding you can only gain with experience. Then you will be ready to start a business following the right principles you now feel, and then you kiss your financial problems goodbye once you are a successful entrepreneur. I'm currently handling the investment decisions of an 8-figure company without any financial software or balance spreadsheet, despite the best efforts of our financial manager. I do most of the investments in the company based solely on my feel about the chunks of value, the money flows that we are dealing with. Of course, if I drown myself in data and replace my intuition with logic, I may do some small decisions a bit better. But this cannot happen without sacrificing this intuition, because I will be sacrificing the feel that I have for this flow of money. And when times get rough, and new business models have to be conceived to save and grow the company, I'll need the intuition. The Excel spreadsheets and the software cannot help me because they cannot envision all possible futures of the company. They just deal with the past and the present. So I'll need the intuition. When the tides are turning, if you have intuition, you adapt like Apple, and if you have the spreadsheets and you think you know what you're doing, you're Nokia and you're getting blown out of the market. Intuition is just so much more evolutionarily mature and therefore more powerful than logic, that every complex task that can be handled intuitively should be. Logic is in evolutionary terms a baby that is just learning to crawl. The triumph of logic in modern society is only because the scientific method manages to filter out the 99% of cases where our logic is wrong and combines and constantly improves these 1% of best ideas of the smartest people on earth in a single body of knowledge. On a personal level, logic is terrible. It will fail most people most of the time. As you can see, the intuitive understanding of money comes with just feeling any number of dollars or other currency. Money is just numbers. If you have such intuition, the intuition about quantities, you just feel a business, for example, like WeWork, it's not sustainable. Because when you see its core numbers and money flows, you see that this is just economic bullshit, and they misled investors that this is a good business model, which apparently it was not. And when you see through much of the economic bullshit of the current age fueled by endless capital, of which WeWork is the poster child, you can do much better business decisions, and even you can do better decisions in your personal finance. And we need, of course, more investors who feel when to say no. Okay, got the money idea? Time understanding means having the same feeling about time, any period of time. Just like you have an intuition about how much is $10 and how much is $10,000, you should be able to have an intuition how much is a second, a minute, a week, a day, a month, a year, any period of time. If I say $7, you intuitively know what $7 can buy, even if you never spent exactly $7 for anything. It's the same with time understanding. If I say 7 minutes, you should have an intuitive answer what you can do that you expect to take exactly 7 minutes. Not 5, not 6, not 8, not 9, 7 minutes. This will meaningfully improve your work or your life, even a tiny bit. Yes, for 7 minutes you can do something that will improve your life. Even if you never did exactly 7 minutes of this activity, you should have the feeling what can you fit in 7 minutes. Sounds hard, but it's normal because no one taught us this basic life skill. No one even bothered to tell us this skill exists in the first place, so we can work on it. The brighter side, the more you suck, the faster you improve, and the more you can gain in comparison to other people with whom you compete in life. So if you have the time understanding, you have a huge advantage in life. So how about 80 minutes? What can you do in 80 minutes? How about 150 disconnected intervals of 30 seconds each? Sounds like TikTok? Maybe it's you doing a ton of productive work in your email. So what can you do with your life in 30 seconds? If those are the 30 seconds that you beat inertia and make a positive change and commit to it, for example, by sending a chatty message or an email to show intention for something important, 30 seconds can be life-changing. By now you probably see that your time intuition does not really exist or is very vague. Here is an example with a large time period. If you go to university, as you know, I'm not a fan of universities, for 4 or more years, which is a gigantic period of time in terms of potential personal growth that you can achieve at this time. In most majors, you sacrifice real-life experience to attend the game-like simulation with simulated challenges. 4 years loss of real-life experience is just a crazy sacrifice. Of course, this is not valid for what I call hero majors, like medical school, where you learn tons of complicated stuff so then you can save lives, but definitely valid if you study IT or most humanities. So this is usually a bad time investment compared to, say, entrepreneurship. I've talked to some people directly about their time intuition and observed their time-related behavior of them and of many others. And only among entrepreneurs and freelancers have I ever found people with developed time intuition. This is a strong indication that having a 9 to 5 day job normal work week is very detrimental to feeling time. Having your work under rhythm just makes this skill seem unimportant to your brain. On the other hand, if you manage your time and turn it into money in real time with no support structure, you gradually start to feel it from all of this experience. Another example of how people are clueless about time is that they have lost sense how smartphones and especially scrolling social media like TikTok, how they fragment our timeline. It may come as a surprise to some of you, but when we evolved, there was no TikTok. Spending an hour watching 120 videos, about 30 seconds each, has no evolutionary parallel, like zero. Not only because of the constant dopamine releases, but also because of the time structure you're creating. The brain is very adaptive, but the idea of adaptation is to stick at least for a while to the new thing. It's not easy to roll back your attention span to normal after making a total switch every 30 seconds for an hour, 120 switches. If you then try to maintain a face-to-face conversation or to do focused deep work or any real good flow, the brain is still searching for its 30-second break, which will result in destructive habits like constantly looking at your phone. Scrolling Facebook or Instagram is not much better as the bits of information are very fragmented. Basically, scrolling is the death of your flows in the brain. It's very harmful. Of course, this harm is shallow, but if you do it every day, it accumulates. It turns into a pattern. And your brain becomes less suited for deep work. You lose the flows you need for both success and happiness. Unfortunately, not all of the fragmentation is under our control. Stupid websites that log you out constantly for no significant reason, 2FA verifications you don't want, bad UX in general, online and offline, all contribute to disturbing your flow. The more time understanding you have, the harder it is to be okay with clueless systems wasting time and disregarding natural rhythm. We deserve a smoother experience and we should fight for it when possible. And you will feel better if you manage to do it. Time understanding will help you feel how your life develops in time. In the seconds, in the minutes, the hours, in the days, months, and years. Life will no longer be a static picture of the present, the memories of the past, and the thoughts about the future. It will feel a bit more like a continuum, like a river, and much more wholesome. You will feel when something is too fast, or too slow, or too repetitive. It's like a whole new level of consciousness that keeps you time healthy. If you're in TikTok scrolling and fragmenting your timeline, it will signal you that this is not healthy. And you will become time effective. You will fight inertia better and make more and better changes in your life. Based on this feeling, you can work and grow blazingly fast while being patient about the things in life that you cannot really speed up. For example, you cannot speed up love. Some things just don't react well to pressure. So it's better to be patient about some stuff and to be very aggressive, very hunter mode about others, mostly related to work. Here is another comparison that will improve your intuitive understanding of this. Time understanding has the same parent relation to time management as spirituality has to religion. Basically, most religions are a narrow, kind of desperate path to spirituality, where you involve structures in something that is destined to be only a flow, ideally, and you give up and outsource the flow to another entity that involves structures, dogma, and one that imposes rules on you, which hurts your spiritual intuition. Time management is the same. It's a narrow, desperate path to time understanding. Time understanding is the flow, and you're killing it with these structures which only get in the way. You give up and you outsource it to another entity, just like it happens in religion, one entity that imposes rules on you, which hurts your time intuition. And if the other entity is your logical self rather than an external force, it's not better. It's even worse because your logical brain, your boxy brain, does not trust your intuitive brain, your flow brain. They cannot work together on any mission until you have achieved quite high level of self-awareness. So the moment you start relying on rules, your intuition temporarily goes to sleep because the two halves of the brain are in constant struggle for dominance. A much better approach to spirituality is to seek your personal blend of faith and wisdom, the one that feels right, and build concepts rather than rules, have directions, and constantly learn and adapt. Similarly, a much better approach to time understanding is to seek your personal intuitive blend of time management, the one that feels right, and build concepts like principles about how to spend your time rather than rules and specific times that you do specific things. Constantly learn and adapt. Just like there are thousands of religions, there are thousands of suggested models, self-help tips, and apps for achieving time management. But the method doesn't matter when the goal itself is wrong. You shouldn't strive for time management. You should strive for time understanding instead. So, how do we achieve the magical intuitive skill of time understanding? Intuition is built from experience and data points. You need data points. How to secure a constant feed of data points related to time? There are many ways, but I suggest playing two simple mental games like no pressure, only when you feel like it, only when it feels like fun, for the rest of your life. I've played them myself for over 15 years. They are tested, they help, and take close to zero effort. So, game number one. Every time you're going to check the time on your phone, watch, PC, whatever, first think what the time is. Think at most a few seconds, like don't waste a lot of time in this. Also, the important thing is to get an intuitive guess, not a rational one. Don't think about the things you do and different periods that you did different things and try to add them up. That's not the idea. Try to get an intuitive number. Then check the real time and see how much off you are. No rounding up. Always say the exact minute you think. If more than an hour has passed, you can do two steps. Okay, say it was 15:42 an hour ago. First think about a rounded number, let's say 16:40. So your first guess is that 58 minutes passed. Then think if it sounds too early or too late. Intuition is best with binary choices. In training this is important. If it sounds too late, okay, let's do 16:37 and see how much off you are with both the initial 16:40 and the follow-up 16:37. With me, it's very often say 16:35. So the follow-up usually gets me closer from the anchor. But we're so terribly used to round numbers that it takes two steps to reach the better result, because usually the first number is always kind of round and then you can improve on it. My intuition at least never pops up a non-rounded number, and it's very important that your first guess is a good one. And over time, you'll get used to that and get better. After you do this 1,000 times, you'll find out you're getting significantly better. When I first started, I was being off 10-15% with the time estimation. Now I'm often only 2 to 3% off. It's not unusual for me to try to guess the time after not having an idea of the time for an hour and being like only 1 or 2 minutes off. So you can get better. The change is not in the way time works or in your biological clock. You change how your brain perceives the things you do and how much time they take. Because everything you do, you have some idea of how much time it takes and you do things. So if you just stare at a point and have random thoughts, it will be hard to measure the time. But if you do things, then it will be easier. But again, don't try to consciously add up the things you have done for the past hour. Just try to have an intuitive feel about how much everything takes. It's amazing how you may not even remember what you did in the past hour, but somehow just nail it with only 1 or 2 minutes error. And you have no idea how you are doing it. It feels like a superpower. Just you guess it and you guess it right. This is a very rare and precious window into your intuition. Another key observation is that the moment you feel even a little bit anxious about the guess, you're trying to put some pressure to get it right, the intuition vanishes and you make big errors, like instantly make 15, even 20% error. It somehow helps to be casual about it, which is again a very important feeling about how being casual helps us, because it usually does, but if we apply too much pressure, self-pressure, it doesn't work because we kill the casualness. This shows why we must not pressure ourselves in any way, and intuition will work much better for us in our lives in general, as fears will not cloud our gut feeling about it. This will take care of your intuition about minutes and hours and help you not lose track of time when you're not supposed to. Bonus tip: if you lost track of time while being, of course, awake and sober, and your guess is way earlier while it's actually late, for example, you're at a party and you think that 3 hours passed, but it's actually like 4, this means that you had a really good time. Sometimes you go to a party for like 6 hours, you drink, you dance, you may be physically exhausted afterwards, not getting enough sleep, and after the party you may feel tired, and the tiredness now actually clouds how much of a good time you had, and you cannot appreciate it. But really, if a lot of time passed and you didn't realize how much time had passed, you had a great time. This means that you were in a flow for a long time, and the boxy structures that measure time, even the ones that are data points for your intuition, they just went for a break. They went to sleep. So you are having a really good time. And this is great because only in such moments we can have real, total fun, real happiness, real immersion with your surroundings. Your internal clock just slows down compared to reality. Then we have another intuition forming game. When you have a recent, nice, memorable, let's say, anchor event in your life, say meeting a loved one or starting a new, better job, or just something improved, from time to time, compare how much time you think passed since this event and how much time really has passed. And then you get thoughts like, wow, I have known Monica for only 6 months. It feels like a year. If the anchor event fades years behind, choose another more recent anchor event. Then you track years going by, not by the actual years, but with the beautiful things that happen to you. And this feels much better when you have an intuition about your age and how your life is passing. And this way of thinking will take care of your intuition about months and years, and it will make you feel much more grateful. The idea of these games is to create data points that will help you feel not just how much time passes, but also to relate this feeling to the things you do, their actual value to you, so you know if the time spent on non-essential, non-fun activities is actually worth it. Say you enter a large supermarket at 19:35, and when you get out, you expect it would be 19:58, but it's actually 20:07. Definitely because you had fun in the supermarket. Instead, you were just too slow and indecisive. Maybe you were tasting avocados for ripeness for 4 minutes or whatever, but probably not the best investment of your time. So time management will say, be faster next time, like maybe you have a little bit of self-scolding, and maybe next time you would squeeze 5 minutes at the cost of some self-pressure to choose the avocados faster. But the result will be temporary, and you need constant oversight and pressure. The factors that made you slow and indecisive, like the lack of meaning in this activity or lack of physical energy, they will often still be there, and they will still be dragging you down. Time understanding will search for a dramatically different solution. It will show self-love and understanding for you and all of the reasons that resulted in this slow behavior, and correctly pinpoint the real reason, which is lack of meaning in this activity, and search for radical change options, like overcoming inertia. Maybe you can use a home delivery service for groceries, or hire someone to shop for you. Why not hire someone to shop for you who is in desperate need of money and dignity? Maybe you can outsource this to a homeless person who can do some shopping for you, or some poor kid who feels that no one would trust them with their money and some work. So your problem is actually an opportunity to improve your game of self, your game of life. Even the world can make the world better. The good options in life, they improve everything all at once. But if you're stuck with a time management mindset, you'll just be picking the avocados faster next time, only if you're lucky. So basically, time understanding is a flow. It improves your entire life. Time management only can improve marginally your experience in time, and it will not improve anything else in your life. And if you don't improve anything else, if you're not improving the other important things, then the positive change from time management will not stick, and you'll be back where you were before. The possibilities are endless if you leave behind the time management treadmill, if you leave behind the time grinding. Time understanding will offer you more than effectivity. It will offer you self-love, flows, creative adaptability, using time as the grid to massively improve on everything in your life. It will make you better at work, happier, more than you can imagine. Building our time intuition takes almost no effort as data points are already around us. We experience time all the time, but it takes time. And we need a backup plan for the period from when we start being aware about time until we have an intuition to work with. And I hope this period will start today for you. But as I don't want to demotivate you that it will take years until you can feel time properly and have the intuition, here is a quick fix until you get there. Basically, a plan B, which also helps plan A, the intuitive plan. It is of paramount importance to ask others the time question until you have the intuition developed. And the time question is very simple. It's, what do you do all day? If possible, give me a minute-by-minute breakdown of your typical day or working hours. A minute-by-minute breakdown of a day is as close to reality a story can get as humanly possible. Maybe boring, but it's very real. So how did I figure out the importance of the time question? A Brazilian clown, yes, an actual clown from the circus, barely illiterate because he had dropped from primary school to travel with the circus. He was elected to parliament in a record-breaking vote. And how did this happen? It happened because he used this amazing ad. His name was Tiririca, which means grumpy, and he asked his voters, what does a federal congressman do? Truly, I don't know, but vote for me and I'll find out for you. And this slogan and others like it made Brazilian voters who really wanted to know vote him in. But it's so strange that I had to hear a Brazilian clown with literally a third grade education for the first time say out loud one of the most important questions in life, and as a joke actually, because no one would dare ask it for real. We truly live in a super strange world about time and what we actually do. So you can ask the time question everywhere. You can ask people about their work, you can ask students about their studies, and parents about their parenting. It's the most educational question you can ask someone, along with the how do you feel about it question. These are the two questions that bring life, details, and nuance. Because everything else you hear may just be bullshit words floating on the surface, dodging a real answer, if we don't feel fully comfortable enough to tell. But these two questions, what do you do in your day, the time question, and how do you feel about what you do, the favorite questions of the therapists, there is no dodging. Unless you are asking a hardcore liar, you get the truth with as little bias as possible. And while it may sound annoying to ask a single question that has a 20-minute answer, and you might get some weirded reactions at first, deep down, almost all people love to share, so they will share at length what they do all day. And while how do you feel is the central game of self question, what do you do in your day is the central game of life question. Ask it when you want to know, ask it when you care, ask it so you're in touch with reality, because we're about to reconstruct reality. Why? To improve our game of self, because time understanding can help you indirectly with your mental health. If you want progress in the game of self, say less fears, the smart way is to set up such a game of life environment that fosters this change. Say one way you have to face those fears, one in hunter mode. Constructing certain situations in the game of life is not easy, as many factors are not under your control. You need to understand yourself, other people, how systems work, all of those structures, but also time, as time is a component of everything that happens to you. If you don't have the intuition about how everything behaves and evolves over time, you cannot construct. Here is a construction failure from my own life, because I both hadn't yet developed time intuition and didn't ask the time question, so I was a newbie. I had an year-long sheep mode period of low happiness, low confidence, maybe slightly depressive. Before I started university, I was feeling slow, lazy, unmotivated, but I thought my elite university would help. because it would be a challenging, time-intensive environment where a lot would happen. And of course I would meet new people and everything, but also I was counting on it being like challenging, busy. But it turned out it was mostly waiting in hallways, hanging around in cafes, doing nothing, lots of small talk, not much studying or challenges or anything actually happening for the first 3 months before the first exams. What was studied was boring, and there were no challenges. The challenges I needed on my timeline to speed and spice up my life, they were still not there. And then I made the next attempt, which was a success, a construction success. What did I do? Things got better emotionally after I played a shit ton of small chess tournaments in the next 6 months. Much more than you are supposed to play even as a professional, because I was playing basically all the time. I was playing so much I didn't have time to train. In that year I was the second most active player in the whole country. It was supposed to be tiring. You were not supposed to play so much actual competitive chess where you play tournaments with money prizes and everything. But instead it felt so rewarding, because after the university I finally felt my time was being spent for something of value. In the time of a boring lecture I could play a game of chess, like 50 decisions, 50 moves, hundreds of calculated variations, all under time pressure, let's say in an hour, which was exactly what I needed to shake off the fog and the slowness from my brain and return to hunter mode. And this worked. The truth is I felt what is needed, something dynamic, but my time intuition failed me and suggested university will be dynamic, and in fact it wasn't, because I didn't have the data points about that, and it was just wishful thinking basically. And because I didn't realize my shortcomings, I didn't ask the time question as a backup. With a chess approach I was in my own backyard, on my own territory, and the construction worked, but the university could have been avoided if I only had asked the time question. I could have asked university students older than me, what do you do all day? And they would have told me, yeah, we have some lectures, they're pretty boring, we hang around with other students, yeah, we wait a lot of times for the professor to arrive, or for them to sign something, or for us to get something before the exam, after the exam, to give a project, to take the project with evaluation, like a lot of waiting around, a lot of just lagging. And if they had told me this, then I would like, okay, maybe I go to university, maybe I don't, but I would not rely for the university to get my life back into the dynamic, fast-paced time pattern that I needed. On a side note, it's important that your constructions stay on the intuitive level. Don't become logical, concrete plans, because plans never seem to work. Because when we plan, we add unnecessary pressure and expectation to the planned ideas, and just we reduce their odds of success because of this pressure. And it's important that your constructions do work, so it's better to keep them intuitive, conceptual, vague, as we want them to work and improve our well-being. If you don't apply pressure and logic and leave them to intuition and creativity, constructions do work. You secretly like them, because just like the seeds of the ideas in the masterpiece movie Inception, they are your own creations. And if you ever use an Inception seed from elsewhere, say a self-help book, for a construction of yours, be damn sure to find a way to tweak it and make it feel your own. Otherwise, your subconscious will reject it as foreign. This is why I Grow Younger doesn't give a lot of concrete advice. We are leaving you space to create constructions of your own so that you can feel them as yours. Here are my principles about time understanding. I have applied these in the last 15 years of my life, and in this period I grew a company from scratch to 8 figures without major risk, so not a lot of debt or lifestyle sacrifices. In fact, my lifestyle was better than the average 9-to-5 worker. I work from home or from anywhere I want, flexible hours, no alarms, no commuting, no bosses, and not much time on the phone. All of this happened despite me being extremely inexperienced in every aspect of this path, making an unimaginable amount of wrong choices. I think time understanding was one of the few things that I actually did right, along with the industry choice of SEO and domain names, which was, of course, also partially luck. And any success has luck as a huge component. I wouldn't tell anyone that they can just achieve the same level of success with the same level of effort, but this is why you try multiple times. Here are the principles that you can use for time understanding, and of course you can apply them in your own way, but some I think are pretty universal. So we can divide our time in the following concepts. First, we have unforgettable times, where the quality is infinity. Some of your time is so beautiful that it's no longer quantifiable. The moments that take your breath away, the moments you never forget, they are not just moments in time, they are life events. Never sacrifice the potential for those for any quantifiable time. If you want to go for a romantic walk with your loved one, go, and work and money be damned. You should not care of anything you are not doing right now. It's important what you are doing. We will call these times priceless, as they are not on the usual time worthiness scale. If your work somehow has priceless moments, that's amazing, because it's not the case with most people. Then we have your time's worth in money, what I call the quality floor. How much is your hour worth in cash as a minimum benchmark? If you have to do some gig only for the money, below what hourly rate you say no. This changing figure will be our base for our next thoughts about your relations with work and money. Never let this figure influence the priceless time priorities in your life. They are priceless for a reason. Now you know how to remove, replace, or renegotiate work-related activities that are not rewarding and fall below the quality floor. However, there is a problem. Reward of our time spent is often a mix, and we don't know what we're working for. Is it money? Is it something else like satisfaction? Let's try to segment those, because those mixes can be quite confusing. Why do we mix objectives when working? If you feel you work 1 hour of something mostly for the money, be honest. It's probably almost entirely about the money, like 99%. If you feel you do it mostly not because of the money, be honest. 99% it's not about the money, and you would then do it for free too. No, maybe it's still mostly about the money. So you just have to be extremely honest with yourself about this. With yourself, there's no place for lies, no place for the concept that you copied from society, only truth. Maybe ugly, maybe doing everything for the money. Well, that's a way to live. You can grow from it to more meaningful places, but you have to admit the truth to yourself about what is happening now. So, why are we so sure the imbalance is close to 99%? So you're either doing something almost entirely about the money or almost entirely not about the money. Because money and flows like joy and meaning are so different, so incomparable, that if you can actually try to compare, it's a huge difference. If you don't feel which is the main thing, it's a good mix, as it brings you a lot of both. But if it's imbalanced, the smaller objective usually better be left behind, so you can focus on what you really care about. And if it's the money, no problem. Still a way to live, and you can still go places from this point. And there is nothing wrong, no matter what the distribution is. The point is not to be judgmental to yourself, just being honest. And if it's about money, remember, money are just a tool for improving your freedom. They are not the points that make you a winner in life. It's not gamification. Money is a resource, and one that you need, at least some of. All of this helps you keep in touch with your time quality floor. But why focus on the money so much? Because actually short-term money is one of the hardest things to earn in life. There is a huge, very ugly, not very ethical payday loan industry that is taking advantage of this. If I tell you make $1,000 over the next hour, it's borderline impossible. But if I ask you to learn something in this hour that will likely bring you $1,000 over the rest of your life, you have thousands of good options that will lead to this. For example, you can read or watch How to Be a Hunter in I Grow Younger, and if you just follow this one rule, one extremely simple principle, which is always opt for hunter moves if they are physically safe, it will probably bring you much more than $1,000 in return. It will bring you probably 5-6 figures. But it's very easy to earn future money if you understand the game of life and the game of self well. If you understand boxes and flows, it's very hard to earn money now. But remember that the future's present is today's future. This dance in time between hard money earned today and easy money that you can earn in the future is what you need to develop an intuition about. To compare better, it's easier when you have some time when you're only focused on the money and some time that you forget about money completely. But what I observe instead is that most people end up with a mix of a half fulfilling, half promising, half well-paid job. But this balance is misunderstood because we need to know what's going on. We need to be able to feel the flows in our lives and fill the boxes like numbers and amounts of money. And when we mix those up, our intuition disappears because of the complexity and because we mixed things that are not really mixable. While it's good to be balanced in any given moment, any situation comes with two attributes: the situation itself and its potential for change and improvement. And if the potential for improvement is extreme and the chances for its realizations are high, it's better to accept a temporarily bad situation, take the chances for a positive extreme. When you try enough times, the risk spreads and you struck gold eventually. Most people never try, which only improves your chances in a capitalist world based on competition to score your wins. Other people with their half-fulfilling, half-promising, half-well-paid jobs, they have their comfort zone trap and they descend into professional sheep mode, they do the same thing every day and they don't develop. How do we create those extreme potentials that most people are missing on? To create easy future money, you need to focus on the future as much as possible. If you only focus on raising your current skills and wage from, let's say, $20 to $25 an hour, you forget that in that hour you can make thousands of dollars of future money. For real, that's reality, that's not wishful thinking. If you do the right things now, future you will earn more money for the rest of your life. So the better deal is to have the minimum needed, keep the $20 so you don't end up cashless, but forget the incremental improvements of the $20 and aim very high. Build your whole mindset about aiming high. And you should aim high not just in monetary terms, but for everything. If I tell you to make $100,000 in a year with no preparation, you need to find a good job or start some business. If I tell you to make $1 million, your pool of options will shrink significantly. The ideas for a high-paying, boring job or some stupid niche blog like an astrology blog, earning money from Google ads, they're just out the window. While trading stocks stays in the idea pool. But then if I also tell you that no extreme risk is involved, including business risk, then if you want to make $1 million safely, trading stocks are now out the window. Too risky. So it's robbing a bank. So where am I going? The higher you aim, the more only the best ideas stay in your option pool. You get rid of bad ideas, the best ideas stay. You may not know what the best ideas are, but you will find them when you aim high. If you don't aim high, the pool of ideas is diluted with semi-good ideas or even bad ones disguised as semi-good ones. The effective ones, the ones with less market competition, better plan B option, less risk, they will be in this pool of a little ideas that are left. In chess, we say that a good move is good for all the reasons, not just the ones that made you spot it. And this is somehow how the whole world works. For example, when you get into a rich micro industry, not only there will be good money, but also as the competition will be already rich, they will not be motivated to compete hard or nasty or defensive to newcomers in the market. When you find a good option, the stars will align in your favor. If they don't, it's not actually that good. And don't buy the complete BS myth that the economy is perfectly balanced and every opportunity is saturated proportionally to its potential. It's just far from it. The free market has too many flaws, humans have too much sheep mode, too much delusions, and the dynamics in supply and demand always open new opportunities where people largely don't take advantage of them because of mass inertia. They're just being too slow. And now that we know that we have to aim high, what does this have to do with time? Time always allows you to aim high. Just remember this, because if becoming a millionaire is easy, how about 10 million before turning 40? So you can just then engage in some meaningful humanitarian work for the rest of your life without having to depend on annoying donors. And I kid you not, 90% of the worst or average ideas for becoming a millionaire, like being a lawyer your entire life or They just vanished from the pool of options because you now need 10 million before 40. And you can employ this at every level. You passed the school test with 2 days of study. Next time, try a day. Still get an A? 3 hours. Then 2. Decrease until you really mess up. Only in this way you'll find out your true, super intuitive, powerful brain, what it's capable of. Ironically, people pay money for speed reading courses, which is essentially the same. If you just want to do things faster, then you eventually do them faster if you have the right motivating structures. Why not learn speed reading at school, making thousands of dollars of future money an hour while having more time left for the priceless moments with childhood friends? Just aim high. Now, back to the mixes. The mix of time and money and non-quantifiable aspects like education and meaning in a single workplace may get in the way of aiming high because we are mixing quantifiable with non-quantifiable things. So when possible, simplify things. You need money in your life, you need meaning, but no one says they have to come from the same job. Explore your options. If things feel wrong, if it feels like a mess, explore different options. Value your time high in cash, but also be ready and happy to completely donate it when educating yourself, when giving back, or when you're searching for meaning. It makes the data points needed to build your time intuition clearer and the process faster. Also, simplifying this makes it easier to live without expectations, which is something I highly recommend. Simplifying often means quitting, and quitting is a highly underrated skill. Think about it. If you always quit everything boring immediately, you never do boring stuff, which means you always do different and interesting stuff and build an intuition from the ages with the amount of diverse data points that you have, while your peers are still in higher education cramming. And quitting is also connected to the main defensive skill you need in your life, which is the skill to say no to opportunities or people will be improved when you develop a loving, understanding relationship with time, how you're spending it, and the high value you see in it for yourself, your loved ones, and the world. And speaking of the value of time, let the past stay in the past. Don't judge the time value of the past. You have a lot of time in your life. Never obsess about having wasted any single period of time, even if it has been hugely ineffective or unfulfilling. It's usually not a waste anyway. Your intuition is improving over time, even during times that seem like they were wasted. No pressure on single periods. It's the repeating stuff that makes up the big picture. So, improve it. The future awaits you. To summarize, priceless time always has complete priority. Then comes a mess of time, money, and your other values. Try to simplify and remember that current money is a hard necessity, future money is easy, but one day the future money will be the current money of today. And you want to be in a better place then than your current place. And the way is to aim high and thus leave only the best low risk, high reward options to get there. Focus on money or meaning or both if strong, but not a lot of one and a little of the other. As my experience is that this clinging and not letting go of the other is the worst configuration for progress. When something no longer feels a worthy time investment, quit immediately. Learn to say no and don't dwell on the past. Now, from the methods to the substance, here are the main kinds of time you experience. The best. You have a lot of priceless time in your life. Family, friends, love, creative hobbies, time in nature. All of those should always come before work unless you really, really enjoy your work. This way, you have to find work you enjoy. Otherwise, you never get to do any work because you always prioritize based on joy. This hedonic selection principle, as I call it, is how you can boot yourself out of your career comfort zone into good career paths. Make priceless time work for your personal growth by removing your bad options. When left only with a few options you enjoy, choose a high-paying one so you don't sacrifice financial freedom. If this sounds too demanding, just start a business. There you have more long-term freedom about how to run things, have fun. In general, try, learn, gather experience, and don't miss life's chances, and the work-life balance will happen by itself. No pressure needed. the worst. You have repeating non-fun stuff in your life, like cleaning, washing the dishes, doing laundry, or non-fun kinds of shopping, which for me is every kind of shopping. A sensible path is to eliminate those, sacrificing money instead if possible. I also don't drive, which is another non-fun activity for me, and not driving frees up a lot of time. So anything that is not fun, like not building you up as a person, not helping others, you can just drop these activities. Then you have mixed time. Let's say traveling with the subway. It's not exactly fun, but it's also not exactly useless. You can read a book and just enjoy some relaxed time. Treat these periods with the thought, what should I do now that would inspire me and maintain hunter mode and flows for the future? This is a personal question with a personal answer. But if there is no answer for you, say you want to become a painter with all your heart and you want to paint and you cannot paint in the subway, this thought is really like killing you, disturbing you. Consider freeing up those windows of time, even if the money cost is unproportionate. The feeling of having repeating wasted value in your life is mentally very damaging and should not exist, which is something worth fighting for, using your financial power as a weapon in this fight. Then you have work time. Make it fun, make it happy, make it effective, make it creative. Change everything needed until you find the freedom to make it happen. Work takes so much of your time that no compromises are okay with your work time. It should be the best. Then you have bot time. Even the most interesting work is usually at least partially bot time. It takes 5 seconds to think of an answer to an email, or 30 seconds to write it. So 25 seconds are bot time. There are emails, chats, organizing files, finances, administration. If you write code, you also debug. If you paint, you have to sell the paintings. If you teach, you have to evaluate tests and enter grades. So paperwork and communication are everywhere. How do we approach bot time, which is objectively not fun? For me, bot time is my effectivity sandbox where I want to improve my non-creative productivity every day until my writing, copying, pasting, data entry, file handling speed is as close to my thought speed as possible. When it's fast and you don't feel any time is wasted, it becomes fun because you feel like you're 100% into it. Because to be ultra fast, you have to use tools or even code and be creative. And on the other hand, poorly managed bot time is the reason for unimaginable amounts of lost creative motivation, distractions, and low productivity for the most of humanity. Because the brain never turns off. If you have to write an email you already composed in your head, the brain will float elsewhere to search for something more interesting to think about while you're writing as a bot. So boredom also makes us forget everything very fast, which is the core problem in education, that children are too bored. And then you have free time that has no immediate potential to turn into priceless one. You have many options. You can turn it into work time if work inspires you. You can do something to improve in the game of self or game of life. You can meet people, play games or sports, be in nature, create for fun, or chill with a book or movie. But the only bad choices here are probabland, which means thinking about stuff, overthinking, especially about people and how you relate to them, and the underworld, which is the addictive dark corners of life. So always try to have more attractive, healthy options so the addictions, even your phone, cannot suck you in. I will not give you any more ideas how to apply intuition to the different kinds of time. This is where your individuality can shine. Be yourself. Just don't forget to aim high and always prioritize these priceless moments. This is universal. So, in this cornerstone video, we explored how time intertwines with a lot in your life. Now it's the time to complete the list. We'll connect the dots on every core I grow younger concept with time. And you will see how time is not against you. Time is your ally. The game of self. A main path here is fighting our fears and finding out what makes us happy. Both mean trying new stuff, something time and the chaos of life help with. Don't stand in their way, be a hunter, have flows, let life be dynamic. Success in the game of life is mostly based on truth searching, understanding the world, and accumulating resources like freedom and money. But in time, freedom helps you find more freedom and money helps you earn more money. Accumulation principles help immensely in the game of life, thanks to the exponential curves that time supports. In this regard, Never be afraid to start from scratch. If the path feels right, progress starts slow but speeds up more than you can imagine. Love, the capacities for both self-love and unconditional love, often develop later in life. If you sometimes feel your own enemy, you haven't fully developed self-love. You haven't felt ready to live and die for your loved one, to sacrifice stuff without it feeling like a sacrifice. You haven't experienced unconditional love, which is not bad, it's actually great news. Thanks to time, the best is yet to happen, and you're looking forward to some of the most amazing moments of your life. In business and entrepreneurship, the value changes needed to innovate and invest, the windows for making a profit all exist thanks to time. You just need to be intuitive and adaptive, and you'll never lack income streams. With money, even the laziest investment in an index fund and your money grows faster than inflation. Again, thanks to time. And in your career, if you work at a day job, not only you become better over time, but also become an even more valuable asset to your employer, which means that your wage should grow even faster than your skills. Of course, you may need to negotiate this. Many studies show that happiness increases with age. Indeed, when you get wiser, smarter, freer, richer, more loving, and more successful, why shouldn't it? Having more resources also means that you can afford to share them with others, give more, which is a huge driver of happiness. The name I Grow Younger itself comes from the idea that you can be your better self in time. Younger not by age, which is just a meaningless number, but young inside, happy, creative, curious, and joyful. And time is with you on this journey, if you understand it rather than try to manage it by force. Time is a river, and rivers don't care about force. Don't put pressure on your rhythm. If you're happy and motivated, you'll be growing fast if you can give yourself the freedom to grow at any speed. I trust that you will eventually become more mindful about time and find your own beautiful way of sailing the river. Don't forget to share, like, subscribe, change lives, and I'm leaving you with one of the most beautiful things that ever said about time, and it is from the beautiful If poem by Rudyard Kipling. If you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it, and which is more, you'll be a man, my son.